Thanks for tuning in. We are out here in Long Beach riding the new cargo bike to Aventon's lineup, the Abound LR. This is the long rack version. We had the short rack version before, so let's get into what this bike is all about. Aventon has expanded on their cargo line, the Abound. From the original Abound, which is just one bike, now they have the Abound SR, the short version, and here the Abound LR, which comes in at a price of $1,999. This is an update from the original Abound, the first cargo bike from Aventon, and it has that same length, but they've just beefed it up, changed the style a little bit, refined a few things. And the difference between this and the Abound SR is the LR is 7 inches longer. Some of the similarities between the Abound SR and the LR is that front triangle with that gravity cast aluminum front triangle on the bike really gives a clean look to it, and you can see that they look like the same bike. But one of the main differences is that the LR has that 7-inch longer cargo area, so you are able to fit 2 children on the back and a lot more cargo as well. Another similarity between both of these bikes is they do share the same battery. Along with some of the other bikes in Aventon's lineup, you can swap those batteries between bikes because they are the same. Another feature that is really nice on this Aventon Abound cargo lineup is that adjustable quill stem with that BMX bar-like setup up there. This really makes it a lot more versatile for multiple people in the family if you are going to be sharing this bike. And it does have that suspension seat post with a pretty wide range of heights of riders that can fit riding on this bike. The Abound lineup can also share some of the same accessories like that child seat in the back, and they have a new rail that you can put on there. But one of the differences that is awesome with the Abound LR is they have that frame bag that is built into the frame, and new to the LR compared to the previous Abound is that frame bag has a combo lock on there, which gives it some added safety, and you can feel like your stuff is more secured in there and you don't have to worry about it as much when you're parking it outside somewhere. Now we'll talk about the ACU technology that Aventon has in the Abound lineup as well as some of their other bikes. There's a lot of features, so let me get my notes out real quick. So with this ACU technology, you do get 4G connectivity, GPS tracking, keyless battery, a startup password, geofencing, unusual activity detection, there is an alarm, and there is auto lock when the bike is powered off. With that auto lock, the kickstand does lock as well, so you can't move that kickstand up to get the bike moving, which is actually pretty cool. You can also do over-the-air updates, so you can always keep your bike up to date with the latest firmware for the bike to make sure you have all the cool things that they're coming up with. Connecting to the Abound LR is very easy through the Aventon app and the display that they have on the bike there. You just go through the display menu there, you pull up a QR code, you can open that Aventon app, connection to the bike very easily. Through the Aventon app is where you can get into the ride tune. And through the ride tune is how you can adjust the bike for you can adjust the amount of torque you have, the acceleration, and just the way that this bike is, how it responds to your riding and how you like it. The Abound LR comes shipped as a Class 2 bike, but if you do live in an area that is Class 3 accessible, you can unlock this bike through the Aventon app to go up to 25 miles per hour. One of the updates from the original Abound is that this has an 8-speed drivetrain versus that original 7-speed drivetrain. The Abound LR is run on a 36-volt system, and it has a 750-watt hub drive with 6 speed sensors. This motor produces 80 newton meters of torque, and powering this bike is an internal lithium-ion battery that is a 36-volt, 20-amp-hour battery or 708 watt-hour LG-celled UL certified battery. The wheels are 20-inch wheels and have 20 by 3-inch tires on them. You get a range of up to 60 miles in eco mode, and that is a good amount of mileage in eco mode as well. The Abound LR comes in weighing 88 pounds, and it has a total payload capacity of 440 pounds. The rear rack on there has a payload capacity of 143 pounds, so you can put a decent amount of load back there. The price for the Abound LR is $1,999. So we'll get a little bit into the ride tune aspect of this bike, which you get to through the Aventon app. So right here, I'm just gonna adjust my eco mode. You'll just click on that eco right there, and you can drag the slider for how much torque that you want all the way up to 80 if you want an eco mode. Might be overkill if you're trying to save some battery, but you do all this sliding and you see a nice little graph on the bottom here, which will show you what the max torque is in each of those modes. Pretty cool thing you can do to this bike. So you can have turbo all the way up, which is always how I like to have my turbo. Sport, always somewhere in the middle is good. Eco, I like to have the pedal response a little higher, just so right when I start pedaling, I can get some assist, especially if you have some heavy car going. With that, we're gonna go take on a ride through town, show you a little bit how it is riding the Abound LR. Riding the Abound LR around is a very familiar feeling, especially since we just had the SR in, and there are the same characteristics that the original Abound had, just with ride feel and style of the bike. But with the new way they've tuned this motor and with the ride tune, it's nice to be able to customize that pedal feel. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but it's nice to be able to use that to cater it to how you like it. Like, I like to have a lot of pedal response, but you don't need all the torque. And right now I'm just cruising in eco mode, so it's relatively easy to pedal around still, even though the bike is 88 pounds. But eco mode's pretty solid, and we're just on this bike path here, but cruising with very little effort at 14 miles an hour. There is a headwind too, so it's nice to have a little bit of assist here. Overall, the fit and finish of this bike is very nice. I like the adjustable stem with that quill stem up there. These BMX style bars are pretty cool looking too. And the suspension seat post does a good job of dampening some of those bumpier roads. This is pretty smooth, but there are still a few bumps in there. And mine as well, just pedal with the bike off for a little, just to see how it feels on these flatter bike paths. And this has an 8-speed drivetrain compared to the 7-speed drivetrain of the previous version, and you get a good range in it. And even on going 10 miles an hour, I went to the lowest gear and you're spinning out. So it's nice to have that higher gearing. So if you do get up to those steeper hills, you aren't having to push as much. We'll just get back into eco mode here. But right away, since I have it tuned to get that eco mode for us to get going, you feel it pick up and back to cruising at a nice 13 miles an hour. I'll wait till we get to probably the city bike path to put in a higher mode. I don't want to be blasted by these people enjoying a nice evening on the bike path. Now that we're off of that slower bike path where people are just going for their leisurely rides, I put it into sport mode, and when you get into sport mode, you feel it pick up quicker, and I can easily hold this 17, 16 miles per hour even in this headwind. It is nice to have it in that sport mode just to have a little bit of boost, but having that eco mode will definitely extend the range that you will get on this bike. Another cool thing, this does have blinkers, so people behind you can see which way you're going. It is on that tail light in the back. Also has a headlight, so pretty solid bike with a lot of integrated things. And we've got this little display on the left-hand side is nice, very easy to access with your thumb, and has a lot of information. It is small, but the most important thing you can see is which mode you're in and what speed you're going, and those are both easy to see even on that smaller display. From this light, I'm just gonna use the throttle to get me up to speed. This throttle on the left-hand side here will take us to 20 miles per hour, and it is pretty quick. So we're already at 20 miles per hour, and it can sustain that easily. Definitely will drain some more of the battery, shorten your range, but no problem going 20 miles per hour with throttle on this. And we did throttle up some bigger hills earlier, and it did it no problem. Gonna get into my turbo mode so I can get through this light. But I've got my headlight on, the rear light on. This bike is nice and nimble, it handles well. It's got those 20-inch wheels. So kind of made for the city, I would say. We're gonna wait till we can get through this light. But yeah, turbo mode, you feel it pick up quick. Feel it use all that torque from the motor, and there we are. Easily in turbo mode, can hold 20 miles per hour. We're just gonna cruise on down this street. Like in turbo mode, you feel that it wants to go faster, but we're in a class 2 area, so we're gonna keep it in the class 2 mode. But if you live somewhere, you can put this into class 3, you'll go up to 25 miles per hour, and the bike does handle well. So you'll be able to handle that. I'm gonna just go fast up to this line. It's got some nice hydraulic disc brakes on here. So here we go. Easy to stop. You want some nice brakes when you have a bike like this, because you're gonna be hauling some precious cargo if you're bringing some kids along with you. After riding the Abound LR today, there are a lot of things we like about this bike, and it's definitely a very nice improvement from the original Abound. We like that it shares a lot of the features of the Abound SR, especially that ACU with those connectivities that you can do with your phone, and the geofencing, the security, GPS tracking. All those things are very beneficial to a bike that you're gonna be wanting to use all the time. This kickstand that locks when you turn the bike off, also pretty neat, and it's super sturdy. I sat on it with the kickstand up. It didn't feel like it was gonna tip over or anything like that. And that's gonna be really nice for if you're gonna be loading any children on the back. You don't want that to be wobbly, because you don't wanna just have this bike tip over when you have it parked. As for the riding of this bike, it's really comfortable. That added suspension seat post on there with the front suspension gives it a nice smooth ride. When you do hit some of those bumps, you don't notice it as much as when you have a rigid post on there. And just the handling, especially with the smaller wheel size, it doesn't feel too twitchy or anything like that. The proportions of this bike really work for something that you're gonna be wanting to ride around in a city. And when you're loading it up with some heavy weight, having that lower standover height in there just helps you get on that bike and get moving. I don't have a lot of gear on this bike. There's probably only like 15, 20 pounds in that backpack, but it is nice if you do have heavier gear, or just in general with a cargo bike, to have that throttle. It is helpful to get moving off the get-go, because you are gonna have a little more weight than you will on a lighter bike. And this bike coming in at 88 pounds isn't the lightest bike, that's for sure, but it doesn't feel like that when you are riding. With this bike, we do see where it fits in the cargo e-bike lineup, having that longer rear end and coming in as more of like a car replacement for a family. You could use this for multiple people, like we said, with that quick adjustment of that seat post, and that quill stem up there has the adjustable height. So it's comfortable for a variety of heights. And it would be really nice to have to load those kids on the back, take them to school instead of driving your car, park right in front of the school, and you're good to go. As for looks on this bike, it is a good looking bike, and the finish that they have, especially with that gravity cast frame up in front and that front triangle, you don't see any weld lines. It's a good looking bike. And for the power of this bike, it does have the 750 watt rear hub motor with that 80 newton meters of torque, and it really isn't lacking that much power. Just for fun, we were doing a test when we were on the group ride earlier. There was a steep grass hill, so it doesn't have the best grip on there. And we did measure it after. It came in at around 20 degrees, so pretty steep. Just went from a stop, throttle only, pointed my nose forward, and went up that hill, and it made it. I don't know how it would do if we loaded it up with the 143 pound capacity that you could on the rear rack, but it made it up that hill, so it's not lacking power at all. We do just have this set in the class 2 setting because we're just riding around the city with those class 2 limits. And when we did get up to those higher speeds, the brakes, they do a good job of stopping you. Didn't feel like I was lacking any power in that braking. And you want to have good brakes on a bike when you are carrying a heavier load. With the Abound LR coming in just under $2,000 at $19.99, that is a good value for a bike that you can get a lot of use out of, especially if you're going to be using it as a car replacement. It is also very nice that there are a bunch of accessories that you can get for this bike, with the rear captain's chair that you can get, to the racks, and those are interchangeable between the SR and the LR. So if you're looking to have two bikes in that garage and use them in a modular fashion, you could totally do that. Overall, I'm into this bike. I really like the cargo bike space, and Aventon, I think they knocked it out of the park with this. And adding this to the cargo line with the SR and the LR, you have some versatility in the cargo space line from them. I think more people should have cargo bikes, and they would enjoy riding their bikes to go get groceries more. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about this, leave a comment down below. As always, please subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next one.